Hey, welcome to the podcast. Today, I want to talk about something that's been a bit of a game changer for me personally, and I think it could be for a lot of people too: quitting sugar or at least cutting back on it. And I'm not talking about quitting all carbs or going keto or anything drastic, just talking about trying to avoid the obvious sugars like sugary snacks, sodas, that kind of stuff. Look, I get it. Sugar is everywhere, at least sugar. It's hard to avoid. And for a lot of us, sugar is like that old friend we know we shouldn't hang out with, but we keep coming back to because it's comforting, right? But once you take a step back, you start to see how much of a difference it actually makes. So I just wanted to share some of the benefits I've noticed and some of the research out there on what happens when you cut down or completely quit sugar. One, energy levels. Let's start with energy. Before I started cutting back, I'd get these afternoon slumps every single day. Like I'd be sitting at my desk around 2 or 3 p.m. and it was like hitting a wall. I'd feel this crazy drop in my energy and I'd be desperate for coffee or something sweet to pick me up. That was just normal for me and I didn't think too much about it. But after I started quitting sugar, I noticed I didn't get those energy crashes as often. Actually surprised by how much more steady my energy felt throughout the day. I think a lot of that has to do with blood sugar levels. When you eat a lot of sugar, your blood sugar spikes and then it drops quickly, which is what causes those highs and lows. When you cut out sugar, your blood sugar stays more balanced, which means your energy stays more balanced too. Now, I'm not saying that you'll never feel tired or anything. Obviously, we're all going to have days where we're low on sleep or stressed out. But in general, cutting sugar really made a noticeable difference in my energy levels. I felt less of that jittery sugar high followed by a crash. I just felt more even keeled. Two, mental clarity and focus. Another big thing I noticed was my mental clarity. I mean, I didn't go from regular person to Einstein or anything, but I noticed that I was able to focus for longer without feeling foggy. Before I cut back on sugar, I used to struggle with staying on task. It was so easy to get distracted. My mind would wander a lot, especially after lunch. You know that feeling? Like you just ate, and suddenly it feels almost impossible to keep your eyes open or stay focused on what you're doing. I'd get that post-lunch slump almost every day, and it was brutal. The whole afternoon would feel like a fog. But after I started cutting back on sugar, I noticed a big shift. I felt more alert and in the zone. I could sit down to work or even just read a book, and my mind was more there, less spaced out or foggy. It was easier to dive into a task and stay with it without feeling like I was constantly battling distractions. From what I've read, this has a lot to do with how high sugar levels can interfere with the brain's natural functioning. Sugar seems to create this kind of chaotic effect in the brain, like a traffic jam. When you eat a lot of sugar, it spikes your blood glucose, which then crashes quickly. That crash affects your brain too, leading to that sense of mental fatigue or fog. But when you cut it out, it's almost like unclogging a drain. Everything just flows better. It's really amazing to experience because you don't realize how much sugar is affecting your brain until you actually remove it from your diet and start noticing how much clearer your thoughts feel. I read somewhere that sugar actually contributes to inflammation, even in the brain, and that can mess with cognitive function. It's not just about feeling a little tired. It's actually about the way your brain processes information, stores memories, and even manages your mood. And there's research backing this up too. Studies have shown that high sugar intake is linked to impaired cognitive function and even memory issues. Basically, sugar can actually make it harder for your brain to process information efficiently. Think about that. Something as simple as sugar can have a real measurable effect on how sharp you feel, how well you remember things, and how quickly you can think on your feet. If you're someone who struggles with focus, gets mentally sluggish in the afternoons, or finds it hard to stay on task, cutting sugar might be a huge help. I used to just accept that tired, foggy feeling as normal or as a sign that I wasn't a naturally focused person. But since reducing sugar, I've realized that it wasn't really about me or my personality, it was the sugar. And honestly, that was kind of mind blowing. It's empowering in a way to know that I can control that aspect of my focus and mental clarity just by being more mindful of my diet. So if you're feeling mentally stuck or unfocused a lot of the time, cutting sugar could be worth trying. 3. Better mood. This one was actually a bit surprising for me. I didn't expect cutting sugar to affect my mood, but it did. I noticed that I felt a bit more emotionally stable, less irritable, less up and down. And it makes sense when you think about it. When your blood sugar is all over the place, it affects your mood too. Those crashes aren't just physical, they're emotional too. I used to think of sugar as a treat, something that would make me feel good, but now I see that it's kind of the opposite. I mean, sure, you get that little dopamine hit when you eat something sweet, but it doesn't last. And after that, you might actually feel worse. So, cutting out sugar can actually make you feel better in the long run, even if it doesn't give you that quick, happy boost. For skin health. All right, let's talk about skin for a second because this one was huge for me. I've always struggled with breakouts and just a kind of general dullness in my skin. Like, it never really looked as clear or vibrant as I wanted it to. I used all sorts of cleansers, moisturizers, and masks, thinking that maybe I just hadn't found the right product yet. But I never really thought about sugar being connected to it. I mean, I was aware that diet can affect skin, but I thought that mainly applied to things like greasy foods or dairy. I never thought the sugar in my snacks or drinks could be affecting my skin in such a noticeable way. But after I cut down on sugar, I noticed my skin started to clear up. It was actually surprising how quickly I saw a difference. Within a few weeks, I wasn't getting as many breakouts, and my skin just looked healthier. It had this more natural glow that I hadn't really seen before. I wasn't necessarily expecting that, so it was a really nice bonus. And I later learned that sugar can cause inflammation in the body, which can make acne worse. Basically, when you eat a lot of sugar, it spikes your insulin levels, which triggers inflammation. Inflammation can show up in different ways for different people. For some, it's joint pain or digestive issues. And for others like me, it's skin problems. So by reducing sugar, you're reducing that inflammatory response, which can lead to fewer breakouts and less redness. For me, that was a game changer. But that's not the only way sugar impacts your skin. Sugar also affects collagen, which I didn't realize was such a big deal until I started looking into it. Collagen is basically what keeps our skin looking firm, plump, and youthful. It's the stuff that gives your skin that smooth, elastic quality. When you have a lot of sugar in your diet, it can actually bind to collagen in a process called glycation. This makes collagen stiff and weak, leading to sagging skin, fine lines, and wrinkles over time. So, by cutting out sugar, you're actually helping your skin in multiple ways. You're preventing those sugar fueled breakouts, and you're protecting your skin's structure, keeping it firm and resilient. It's not a miracle cure or anything. Cutting out sugar won't make every skin issue disappear overnight, but it definitely made a noticeable difference for me. And I think a lot of people would see similar results if they gave it a try. And what's even better is that it feels sustainable. I was constantly buying new products or changing my skincare routine. I just cut back on something I was eating every day. And honestly, I didn't expect that something as simple as quitting sugar could have such an effect on how my skin looked. If you're someone who deals with acne or just wants a little extra glow, it might be worth a shot. Think of it like this: we spend so much money on skincare products, but a lot of those products are designed to counteract damage we might be causing ourselves from the inside. Cutting down on sugar is free, and it might give you better results than any product can. 5. Better sleep. This one might sound a little weird, but I started sleeping better too. I don't know about you, but I used to have a hard time falling asleep and staying asleep. I just toss and turn, and my mind would be racing. Once I cut out sugar, though, I found that I was able to relax a bit more in the evenings. I think it has to do with that whole blood sugar stability thing again. When your blood sugar is up and down, it can mess with your sleep patterns. But when it's more balanced, it's easier to wind down and get a good night's rest. So if you're someone who struggles with sleep, it might be worth trying to cut back on sugar, especially in the evenings. It could help you sleep more deeply and wake up feeling more refreshed. 6. Reduce cravings. All right, let's talk about cravings because this was probably one of the most surprising benefits for me. I always thought I was just someone who craved sugar, like it was part of who I was. But after I cut back, I actually stopped craving it as much. It's weird, but it's like the less sugar you eat, the less you want it. It's kind of like a cycle. The more sugar you eat, the more your body wants it, and the less you eat, the less you crave it. I didn't think that was true, but it really is. So if you feel like you're always craving sugar, just know that it gets easier. Your body adapts, and those cravings actually do go down. 7. Weight management. I'm not someone who really focuses on weight, but I did notice that cutting out sugar made it easier to manage my weight. Sugar is sneaky, it adds up really fast, and it's in so many foods you wouldn't expect. Cutting it out means you're naturally eating fewer empty calories. And when you eat less sugar, you're also less likely to overeat because sugar messes with your hunger hormones. When I was eating a lot of sugar, I'd feel hungry all the time. But after I cut back, I noticed I was satisfied with less food and I wasn't snacking as much. It's not like I was actively trying to eat less. It just kind of happened. And that made a big difference in terms of maintaining a healthy weight. 8. Improved immune system. Another benefit I learned about was my immune system. Apparently, sugar can actually weaken your immune system, which I didn't know. And that makes sense when you think about it. When I was eating a lot of sugar, I'd get colds and feel run down more often. But after cutting back, I noticed I didn't get sick as often. I felt healthier overall, and that's probably because my immune system wasn't dealing with all the extra sugar. So if you're someone who catches every cold that goes around, cutting back on sugar might actually help keep your immune system strong. So, yeah, those are some of the benefits I noticed after cutting sugar. It wasn't easy at first, and I definitely had my moments where I wanted to dive headfirst into a tub of ice cream. But once I got through that initial phase, it really did get easier. And honestly, I felt so much better that it was worth it. If you're thinking about cutting back on sugar, I'd say go for it. Start small if you need to. Maybe just cut out soda or avoid sugary snacks for a week and see how you feel. You don't have to go all in right away, but even a little bit can make a difference. And who knows, you might feel so good that you want to keep going. Anyway, thanks for tuning in and listening to my little sugar journey. I hope this was helpful and maybe it gave you some motivation to give it a try. If you do, let me know how it goes. I'd love to hear about your experience.